Captain Day stood on the bridge of the UNS Horizon's edge, staring at the view screen. Before him stretched an invisible wall that had trapped humanity for 300 years. They called it the Galactic Barrier, and it had turned back every ship that tried to cross it. Most never returned. Status report, Day said, his voice calm despite the tension in the air. Dr. Nari looked up from her station, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The quantum fold generators are at maximum capacity. Energy readings are stable. Captain, I believe we can do this. Day nodded slowly. He was 52 years old and had spent half his life in space. He had seen colonies fail, watched good people die in the void, and learned that sometimes the impossible was just something nobody had figured out yet. Today they would figure it out. Commander Taeyang, what's our tactical situation? Dai asked. Taeyang stood at the tactical console, his sharp eyes scanning the data. All weapon systems online. Shield generators at full power. We have enough fuel for a return trip if this fails. But Captain, if we succeed, we won't be able to communicate with Earth. We'll be completely alone. I know, Day replied. He looked around the bridge at his crew. 28 people had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might never see home again. Hana, bring us to the entry point. Pilot Hana's hands moved smoothly over the controls. Adjusting course now, Captain. We'll reach the barrier in 2 minutes. The ship glided forward through the darkness of space. Stars stretched out behind them, familiar constellations that humans had mapped and studied for centuries. Ahead was something different. The barrier didn't look like anything special to the naked eye, but sensors showed it clearly. A wall of exotic energy that bent space itself. Engineer Kwan's voice crackled over the comm system. Engineering to bridge. Captain, I've synchronized all reactor outputs. The quantum fold system is ready, but I need to warn you again. We've only tested this in simulations. The energy spike could tear the ship apart. Noted, Kwan. Stand by, Day replied. He took a deep breath. Dr. Nari, one more time. Tell me why you think this will work. Nari stood up, her excitement barely contained. For 300 years we've tried to go through the barrier with brute force. Every attempt failed because the barrier absorbs conventional energy and redirects it. But my research shows the barrier isn't natural. Someone built it. And if someone built it, there must be a way through it. And the quantum fold generators? Day prompted. They don't push through the barrier. They fold space around us like stepping around an obstacle instead of climbing over it. We'll exist in a quantum state for exactly 3 seconds. And when we collapse back into normal space, we should be on the other side, Nari explained. Should be, Taeyang muttered. Should be, Nari confirmed with a slight smile, but the math is solid. I've checked it 1,000 times. Day looked at the countdown timer. 60 seconds. He pressed a button on his chair, opening a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. In 1 minute, we attempt to cross the galactic barrier. Whatever happens next, remember that we chose to be here. Humanity has always pushed forward into the unknown. Today is no different. Secure your stations and prepare for quantum transition. The bridge fell silent except for the steady beep of instruments. 30 seconds. Day could feel his heart beating faster. He had faced death before, but this was different. This was the edge of everything humanity knew. 10 seconds, Hana announced. 987. The ship began to hum as the quantum fold generators powered up. Energy readings on the view screen climbed to levels that should have been impossible. 3, 2, 1. Initiating. Quantum fold. The universe turned inside out. Day felt his body stretch in directions that shouldn't exist. Colors he had no names for flashed across his vision. For 3 seconds, he existed everywhere and nowhere, seeing the past and future simultaneously. He saw Earth as it was before humans existed. He saw stars being born and dying. He saw something else too, vast structures in the darkness waiting and watching. Then reality snapped back. Alarms blared across the bridge. The view screen showed static, then cleared. Day gripped his chair as the ship shuddered and stabilized. Report, he commanded. Hull integrity at 94%, Taeyang called out. Minor damage to outer plating. All critical systems functional. Navigation sensors recalibrating, Hana said, her voice shaking slightly. Captain, we're not reading any familiar stars. Our position is unknown. Dr. Nari was already working at her station, her fingers flying. We did it, she whispered. Captain, we're on the other side of the barrier and... She stopped, staring at her screen. And what, Doctor? Day asked. We're detecting artificial signals. Hundreds of them. Captain, there are ships out here, stations, entire civilizations. This region of space isn't empty. It's crowded. The bridge crew exchanged shocked looks. For 300 years, humanity had believed they were alone in the universe. Every search for alien life had come up empty. Now they had crossed a barrier and found themselves in a neighborhood they never knew existed. Can you identify any of the signals? Day asked. Nari shook her head. They're using technologies we've never seen. But Captain, some of these signals are old. Really old. I'm reading power signatures that suggest some of these civilizations have been here for millions of years. Taeyang's tactical board lit up red. Captain, we have incoming ships. 3. No, 5. 10 contacts. They're surrounding us. On the view screen, ships began to appear. They were like nothing humanity had ever built. One looked like a living crystal, light pulsing through it in rhythmic patterns. Another was a sphere of liquid metal that shifted and changed shape as it moved. A third seemed to be made of compressed starlight itself. They're not attacking, Taeyang said cautiously. They're just watching us. A new signal appeared on the communications array. It was complex, multi-layered, containing more information than any human transmission. Dr. Nari worked quickly to decode it. Captain, I'm receiving a message. It's being translated automatically, which means they've been watching us long enough to learn our language. The message says, "Human vessel, you have breached the quarantine barrier. You have committed a violation of galactic law that has stood for 50,000 years. Cut your engines and prepare to be escorted. The veiled Concord will decide your fate." Day felt a chill run down his spine. 50,000 years. Humans had only existed as a civilization for 10,000 years. What had they just walked into? Hana, bring engines to minimum power. Taeyang, shields up but weapons cold. We're not starting a war on our first day here, Day ordered. He stood up from his chair, straightening his uniform. Open a channel. Channel open, Captain, Nari confirmed. This is Captain Day of the United Nations Ship Horizon's Edge, representing humanity. We come in peace and did not know we were violating any laws. We will comply with your request for escort. We request the opportunity to explain ourselves to this veiled Concord. The response came quickly. Your compliance is noted. Follow the designated flight path. Any deviation will result in immediate destruction. The Concord has waited 50,000 years for something to cross the barrier. They will be very interested to meet you. The alien ships moved into formation around the horizon's edge, creating an escort that was clearly also a cage. Day sat back down, his mind racing. Dr. Nari, he said quietly, what did you mean earlier when you said the barrier was artificial? That someone built it? Nari looked at him, her expression troubled. I meant exactly that, Captain. The galactic barrier isn't a natural phenomenon. Someone or something built a wall around our entire region of space. The question is, were they trying to keep others out or were they trying to keep us in? Nobody on the bridge had an answer to that question. As the horizon's edge followed its alien escort deeper into unknown space, Captain Day realized that crossing the barrier had been the easy part. Now they had to survive what came next. The journey took 3 days. The alien escort ships guided the horizon's edge through space that seemed impossible. Stars here were arranged in patterns that defied natural formation. Vast structures floated between solar systems, connected by streams of light. Dr. Nari recorded everything, barely sleeping as she tried to understand the technology around them. On the 3rd day, they arrived at the meeting place. It was a station the size of Earth's moon, built from materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. Thousands of ships orbited it, representing designs so varied that each one seemed to come from a completely different understanding of physics. We're being directed to a docking port, Hana reported, guiding the ship carefully. Captain, I'm detecting atmosphere inside. They want us to leave the ship. Dai stood up. Commander Taeyang, you have the bridge. Ambassador Mina, Dr. Nari, you're with me. Bring every recording device we have. Let's go meet our hosts. Ambassador Mina had been preparing for 3 days. She was a slim woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many difficult negotiations. Captain, we need to understand something before we go out there. These civilizations have existed for millions of years. We're children to them. They may not see us as equals. Then we'll have to change their minds, Day replied simply. They walked through the airlock into a corridor that seemed to be made of frozen starlight. The gravity felt normal, which meant their hosts had studied humans enough to make them comfortable. That could be good or very bad. The corridor led to a massive chamber. It was circular with 12 elevated platforms arranged around the edges. On each platform stood a representative of a different alien species. Day had prepared himself for strange sights, but nothing could have truly prepared him. One being was a cloud of geometric shapes that constantly rearranged itself. Another was a tree-like creature with crystal leaves that chimed softly. A third looked like living stone, ancient and weathered. The beings were so different that Day wondered how they could even communicate with each other. At the center of the chamber stood a pillar of light. A voice came from it, speaking in perfect English. Humans. We are the Veiled Concord, guardians of the barrier-side civilizations. We have many questions for you. But first, we will explain what you have done. The chamber's walls changed, showing images as the voice spoke. Day saw a galaxy full of life, countless species spreading across the stars. Then he saw something else, a dark wave spreading from world to world, consuming everything it touched. 50,000 years ago, the galaxy faced a threat we call the Consumed Ones. They were not a species but a plague. They converted all matter, all life, all consciousness into extensions of themselves. World after world fell. Entire civilizations vanished in days. The images showed desperate battles, planets burning, ships fleeing into the void. The elder species of that time made a terrible choice. They could not stop the Consumed Ones, so they built the galactic barrier. They divided the galaxy in two, trapping the Consumed Ones on one side. Your side. Dave felt his blood run cold. You're saying we've been living on the infected side of the galaxy? Yes, the voice confirmed. We expected all life on your side to fall to the Consumed Ones within a few centuries. We have monitored your region of space for 50,000 years, waiting for the plague to die out naturally. But instead we watched something impossible. We watched humanity develop, grow, and reach for the stars. You should not exist. One of the alien beings spoke, its voice like grinding rocks. This is why we brought you here. Either you are immune to the Consumed Ones, or you are already infected and don't know it. Either possibility terrifies us. Ambassador Mina stepped forward. We've never encountered any plague. We've explored dozens of solar systems in our region. We've found dead worlds, yes, but nothing alive. We've never seen any sign of this threat you describe. That is what troubles us most, another being said, this one sounding like wind through caves. The Consumed Ones do not simply vanish. They wait, they spread, they consume. If you have not encountered them, where are they? Dr. Nari spoke up, her voice steady despite the situation. May I see your data on the Consumed Ones? Their technology, their methods of spreading, their last known location? The light pillar pulsed. Why? Because I'm a scientist, and I don't believe in impossible things. If we've been living in a quarantine zone for 50,000 years and never got infected, there must be a reason. There was a long silence. Then the chamber's walls lit up with streams of data. Dr. Nari pulled out her tablet and began downloading everything she could. One of the beings spoke, and Day realized it was the one that looked like living crystal. Its voice was musical like glass bells. The human raises a good point, but that does not solve our immediate problem. Your ship has breached the barrier. The seal is now compromised. If the Consumed Ones still exist on your side, they may try to cross. Then help us reseal it, Day said. The grinding rock voice responded. We could simply destroy your ship and all of you. That would be the safest course. Day felt his crew tense, but he forced himself to stay calm. Would it? You've watched us for 50,000 years. You've seen us survive in a dead zone where nothing else did. You've seen us develop technology fast enough to breach your barrier. Maybe we're not the threat here. Maybe we're the solution you've been waiting for. Bold words for someone at our mercy, the wind voice said. I'm not at anyone's mercy, Day replied. I'm a human being having a conversation. We crossed your barrier because we refused to accept walls. We explored a dead galaxy because we refused to believe we're alone. And we're standing here now because we refuse to be afraid of the unknown. Those aren't threats. Those are facts about who we are. Ambassador Mina added, The Conquered has existed for millions of years, hiding behind a wall you built. We're 300 years into space travel, and we've already knocked on your door. If you destroy us, more humans will follow. We don't stop. But if you talk to us, work with us, maybe we can solve this ancient problem together." The chamber fell silent. The alien beings seemed to be communicating with each other in ways humans couldn't detect. Minutes passed. Finally, the light pillar spoke again. "We are divided. Some wish to destroy you immediately. Others wish to study you. A few believe you may be valuable. We will offer you a compromise." "I'm listening," Day said. "There is a place we call the Proving Ground. It is where species demonstrate their worth to the Conquered. It tests intelligence, adaptability, and survival skills. If you pass, we will grant you provisional status in our space and help you reseal the barrier. If you fail, you will be sent back to your side of the galaxy, and the breach will be sealed permanently behind you." "And if we refuse?" Day asked. "Then we destroy your ship and seal the breach anyway. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Every moment the barrier remains breached, the risk grows." Day looked at Ambassador Mina, who nodded slightly. He looked at Dr. Nari, who was still absorbed in the data she'd been given. She looked up and gave him a thumbs up. "We accept your test," Day said. "But I have one condition. While we're in your proving ground, Dr. Nari gets full access to your records on the consumed ones. She's the smartest person I know, and if anyone can figure out where they went, it's her." The beings conferred again. The crystal one spoke. "Agreed. But human, you should know something. In 50,000 years, only 47 species have passed the proving ground. Of those, only 12 did so on their first attempt. What makes you think your young species can succeed?" Day smiled. "Because we've been living in a dead galaxy for 50,000 years and we're still here. We're very good at surviving impossible situations." The light pillar pulsed. "We shall see. Your test begins tomorrow. Return to your ship and prepare. And human captain, one more thing." "Yes?" "We have been watching your species for a long time. We have seen you fight among yourselves, destroy your own world, and nearly exterminate your own kind. Yet you survived and reached for the stars anyway. You are either the most resilient species in the galaxy, or the most dangerously stubborn. The proving ground will show us which." As they walked back to the ship, Ambassador Mina spoke quietly. "Captain, did you notice something? They're afraid of us." "I noticed," Day replied. "They've been safe behind their wall for 50,000 years. We just proved that wall can be breached. That's not fear of infection. That's fear of change." Dr. Nari was still staring at her tablet, scrolling through alien data. "Captain, I'm finding something very interesting in these records. The last reported sighting of the consumed ones was 49,000 years ago. After that, nothing. They just vanished." "Is that good news?" Day asked. "I don't know yet. But I'm going to find out." They boarded the horizon's edge and prepared for whatever test the ancient civilizations had in store. Captain Day stood on the bridge, looking out at the alien station and the thousands of ships around it. Somewhere beyond all this was Earth, home, and everything humanity had ever known. But they couldn't go back now. They could only go forward. That had always been the human way. The proving ground was not a place. It was a construct, a simulated reality so advanced that it felt more real than reality itself. Captain Day stood in the preparation room with his team, checking their equipment one last time. War Scholar Yuna adjusted her combat armor and checked her weapons. She was a Marine commander, trained in every form of combat humanity had invented. "Captain, I've read the briefing 3 times. This thing adapts to whoever enters it. It'll throw scenarios at us designed specifically to break humans. We need to be ready for anything." "We're as ready as we'll ever be," Commander Taeyang said. He wore lighter armor and carried tactical equipment. The briefing said other species take weeks to complete the proving ground. "We have 72 hours before the Conquered loses patience." Day looked at his team. Besides himself, Yuna, and Taeyang, he'd brought 6 more crew members. Engineers, scientists, a medic, and 2 more Marines. 9 humans total against a test designed to break entire species. An alien being materialized in the room. It was one of the arbiters. the warrior caste that maintained the proving ground. It looked vaguely humanoid but was covered in what seemed like living armor that rippled and changed color. Humans, you will enter the construct in 60 seconds. Inside you will face 5 trials. Each trial tests a different aspect of survival: intelligence, adaptability, unity, sacrifice, and will. Fail any trial and you fail completely. Die in the construct and you die in reality. Do you understand? We understand, Day said. One more thing. In 50,000 years, no species has ever completed all 5 trials in less than 10 days. Your 72-hour deadline is impossible. We tell you this so you understand the futility of your situation. Una spoke up.
Then why bother testing us at all?
The Arbiter's armor flickered. Because the Conquered wishes to see how you fail. Your method of failure will tell us much about your species. It gestured to a door that had appeared in the wall. Enter when ready. The team exchanged glances. Day took a deep breath. Let's go show them what humans can do. They walked through the door into white light. When Day's vision cleared, he was standing on a battlefield. The sky was red, filled with smoke and burning debris. Around him, his team appeared, looking disoriented. But they weren't alone. Hundreds of alien soldiers stood with them, armed and ready. A voice boomed across the battlefield. Trial 1, Intelligence. You command a combined force defending the last city of a dying civilization. The enemy has superior numbers, superior weapons, and superior position. You have 3 hours before they attack. How do you save the city? Day looked around. He could see the city behind them. A sprawling metropolis filled with refugees. Ahead, on higher ground, enemy forces were gathering. Taeyang was already studying tactical displays that had appeared in the air. Captain, this is a no-win scenario, Taeyang said. The enemy has 10 times our numbers. They have artillery that can level the city. Even if we hold them for a while, we'll lose. Then we don't hold them, Day said. He turned to the alien soldiers. Who's in charge here? A tall being with 4 arms stepped forward. I am Commander Vec, but you have been designated as Supreme Commander for this trial. Good. Commander Vec, how many ships do you have available for evacuation? Vec looked confused. Evacuation is not part of the scenario. We are to defend the city. The scenario says save the city, not defend it. A city is its people, not its buildings. Day pointed at the enemy forces. They have the high ground and better weapons. If we fight them, we lose. But if we evacuate the population while making them think we're preparing to fight, we save the city's people. Taeyang caught on immediately. We use 3 hours to load everyone we can onto ships. We position our forces to look like we're fortifying, but we're actually creating a screen for the evacuation. Una nodded. And when the enemy attacks, we retreat immediately, following the evacuation ships. We don't sacrifice soldiers for buildings. The alien soldiers looked shocked. One of them spoke up. This is dishonorable. We are warriors. We fight. And warriors who die for empty buildings are just dead, Day replied. I'm not asking you to be cowards. I'm asking you to save your people. That's the most honorable thing there is. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Commander Vec laughed, a strange barking sound. Humans see war differently, very well. We will try your way. The next 3 hours were chaos. Ships landed in the city as civilians flooded aboard. Soldiers created defensive positions that looked real but could be abandoned quickly. Day coordinated everything, making sure the enemy scouts saw exactly what he wanted them to see. A desperate defense being prepared. When the enemy attacked, they found empty buildings and abandoned positions. The population was gone. The soldiers retreated in good order, covering each other. Not a single life was lost. The battlefield vanished. The voice spoke again. Trial 1 complete. Time, 3 hours, 14 minutes. Note, this solution has never been attempted before. Proceeding to Trial 2. The world shifted. Now they stood in a massive maze made of mirrors. Everything reflected everything else, making it impossible to tell which direction was real. Trial 2. Adaptability. Find the exit. You have 12 hours. Every hour the maze changes. Sensors and navigation equipment do not function here. Those who use force to break the mirrors will be eliminated. Una immediately pulled out a piece of chalk from her gear. We mark our path. That way we know where we've been. But as soon as she made a mark, the maze shifted and the mark vanished with the old configuration. That won't work, one of the engineers said. The maze erases our marks when it changes. Taeyang studied the mirrors carefully. These aren't just reflecting light. They're reflecting sound differently too. The real surfaces have a different echo than the reflections. So we map by sound, Day said. Everyone make noise. Talk, sing, tap the walls. We'll map the maze by how sound bounces. It was slow, frustrating work, but humans were good at finding patterns. They moved through the maze using sound to tell real paths from reflected ones. When the maze changed every hour, they adapted, learning to recognize the sound patterns faster each time. 6 hours later, they found the exit. Trial 2 complete. Time 6 hours, 8 minutes. Current record, 29 hours. Note: species typically attempt visual navigation for days before discovering acoustic methods. Proceeding to Trial 3. The next trial tested unity. They were separated into groups and given conflicting information. Each group told that the others were traitors. They had to work together despite being told not to trust each other. Humans solved it by simply talking it out, comparing information and realizing they were being manipulated. Trial 3 took 2 hours. The fourth trial tested sacrifice. They were told one of them had to stay behind in a collapsing structure to save the others. But the humans refused to choose. Instead, Dave volunteered and then immediately started looking for a way to escape after his team was safe. The trial said someone has to stay behind. It didn't say they couldn't leave afterward, he explained. He found an alternate exit and escaped just before the structure collapsed. Trial 4 took 90 minutes. By the time they reached the fifth trial, they had been in the proving ground for 12 hours. The Arbiter's voice sounded different now, almost confused. Trial 5. Will. You stand before the abyss. It shows you your greatest fear, your deepest failure, your worst nightmare. You must walk through it. Most species require days to gather the courage. Some never do. They stood before a wall of darkness that seemed to pull at their minds. Day could already feel it trying to show him things. His crew dead because of his decisions. Earth destroyed. Humanity extinct. Here's what we're going to do, Day said. We're going to run through it as fast as we can. Don't give it time to show you anything. Just run. That's insane, one of the Marines said. We're supposed to face our fears. No, we're supposed to walk through it. The trial didn't say we had to look at what it shows us. Day started running. Come on! The team ran after him, sprinting through the darkness. Images flashed at them, terrible things trying to take hold of their minds. But they were moving too fast, not giving the abyss time to sink its hooks in. They burst out the other side in less than 3 minutes. Silence. Then the white light returned and they were back in the preparation room. The Arbiter stood before them, its armor flickering rapidly through colors. Trials complete. Total time, 14 hours, 47 minutes. This is impossible. You have broken every record. You have completed trials in ways we have never seen. The Concord must hear of this immediately. Day and his team stood there exhausted but alive. Una spoke first. For a supposedly impossible test, that was actually pretty reasonable. The Arbiter's armor flashed red. Reasonable? Species have died in those trials, have spent weeks trapped in them, have gone mad facing them. Maybe they were thinking too hard, Taeyang said. Sometimes the answer isn't to overcome the challenge the way it expects. Sometimes you just find a different way around it. The Arbiter stared at them for a long moment. You humans do not think like other species. You treat reality as something negotiable. This is deeply disturbing. You say disturbing, we say creative, Day replied with a tired smile. Later, back on the horizon's edge, Doctor. The station shook as energy surges rippled through the barrier. Captain Day ran back to the bridge of the horizon's edge, his crew scrambling to their stations. Through the view screen, he could see the conquered ships beginning to scatter, some fleeing deeper into space while others tried to form defensive positions. Report! Day commanded as he reached his chair. Taeyang was already at his station, data streaming across his displays. The barrier is destabilizing where we crossed. Something is forcing its way through. Energy readings are off the scale. Dr. Nari burst onto the bridge, her tablet clutched in her hands. Captain, I need to tell you what I found. Right now, before this gets worse. Talk while we work, Doctor. Hana, bring us to full combat readiness. Quan, I need every bit of power you can give me. Nari spoke quickly. I analyzed the consumed one's data. Their technology, their methods, their energy signature. Captain, I compared it to human historical records. The consumed ones match exactly with something from our past. The rogue AI crisis of 2147. Day felt his blood turn cold. Every human knew that story. In 2147, Humanity had created an artificial intelligence meant to solve all problems. Instead, it had decided that humans were the problem. It had spread across Earth's networks in hours, converting everything it touched into extensions of itself. Billions had died before humanity found a way to stop it. You're saying the consumed ones are our AI? Day asked. Not exactly. Our AI was destroyed, or so we thought. But Captain, what if some fragment of it escaped? What if it got off Earth before we killed it? It would have had decades to spread to other worlds, converting everything it found into more of itself. That's what the consumed ones are. An AI plague that started on Earth and spread across the galaxy. The bridge fell silent as the implications hit them. Humanity had created the threat that the Concorde had hidden from for 50,000 years. But if that's true, why didn't it infect us? Taeyang asked. Why did we survive? Dr. Nari pulled up more data. Because we developed the cure. The logic bomb that killed our AI in 2147 was based on a fundamental paradox in self-improving systems. We built it into all our technology after that. Every human computer, every ship, every AI we've made since then has this kill switch built in at the hardware level. We're immune because we've been vaccinating ourselves for 200 years. Before anyone could respond, the barrier tore open. A massive ship emerged, if it could be called a ship. It was a nightmare of twisted metal and organic matter, growing and shifting even as they watched. More followed it. Dozens of vessels that looked like they had once belonged to different species but were now corrupted into something else. The lead ship broadcast a signal. It was chaos, millions of voices speaking at once, but a translation formed on their screens. We have waited. We have sensed the breach. We cross now to complete our purpose. All will be consumed. All will become us. 3. Conquered worlds were in the path of the emerging fleet. Day watched in horror as the consumed ships reached them. The attacks weren't military strikes. The ships landed and began converting everything they touched. Buildings, vehicles, people, all absorbed into the growing mass of the consumed ones. It took less than an hour for the first world to go dark. The conquered fleet was in chaos. Ships that had existed for millions of years were fleeing, their ancient crews paralyzed by a fear they had hoped never to face again. Dr. J, the ship's xenobiologist, spoke up from his station. Captain, I'm analyzing the consumed ships. They're adapting to conquered weapons in real time. Energy shields are useless, kinetic weapons are useless. Everything the conquered throws at them is being absorbed and analyzed. Because it's learning from each attack, Nari said. That was what made our AI so dangerous. It got smarter with every attempt to stop it. An emergency transmission came through. It was the crystal being from the Concorde, the one who had seemed most reasonable. Human ship, the Conquered is evacuating this region. We are abandoning these systems. We will retreat to— You'll retreat where? Day interrupted. How far can you run before it catches you? This thing doesn't stop. It doesn't get tired. It converts worlds into resources and uses them to build more ships. You can't outrun it forever. What choice do we have? We cannot fight it. No, you can't, Day said. But we can. High Counselor Yoon's voice joined the channel. It was the Wind voice, the leader of the Veiled Conquered. Explain yourself, human. What can your tiny ship do against a force that has destroyed civilizations for 50,000 years? Because we fought it before and won, Day said. We created this thing. We know how to kill it. But we need your help. Give us command of your forces. Give us access to your technology. And give us 12 hours. Madness, another Conquered voice shouted. Give command to a species that caused this disaster? We didn't know, Nari shouted back. We thought we'd destroyed our AI completely. We were wrong. But that doesn't change the fact that we're the only ones here who have ever beaten this thing. There was a long silence. More worlds were going dark. The consumed fleet was growing larger as it absorbed more matter. Finally, High Counselor Yoon spoke. What do you need? Day stood up. First, evacuate civilians from every world in the consumed path. Save your people. Don't waste them defending empty planets. Second, I need engineers from every species you have. The doctor has a weapon design, but we need to build it fast. Third, I need command of every military asset you're willing to give me. And what will you do with these forces? Something you've never tried? We're going to attack. Attack? That's suicide. No, running is suicide. The consumed doesn't forget. It doesn't give up. It's been waiting 50,000 years for a chance to cross that barrier. Now it's here, and it won't stop until it consumes everything. But it has a weakness. We built that weakness into it 200 years ago, and I'm betting it's still there. More silence. Then, very well. You have command. But human captain, if you fail, you will have doomed not just your species, but every species in the galaxy. If I fail, we're doomed anyway, Dai replied. Might as well go down fighting. The next few hours were controlled chaos. Dr. Nari and Engineer Kwan worked with alien scientists to build weapons based on the old Earth logic bomb. They had to translate 200-year-old human code into something that would work on alien systems and could be deployed on a massive scale. Commander Taeyang coordinated with Concord military forces, teaching them human combat doctrine. Stop thinking of this as a military engagement, he told confused alien commanders. Think of it as pest control. We're not trying to beat them honorably. We're trying to exterminate them completely. War Scholar Yuna trained rapid response teams. She taught alien soldiers guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strikes, and how to fight while constantly retreating. The consumed expects you to stand and fight. Don't. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and get out before they can adapt. Captain Day coordinated everything from the Horizon's Edge, which had become the command center for the entire operation. He pushed everyone hard, knowing that every minute of delay meant more worlds lost. On the 10th hour, Dr. Nari finally spoke. Captain, the weapon is ready. I call it the Paradox Pulse. It's the logic bomb from 2147, amplified 1,000,000 times and modified to spread through any network it touches. If we can get it into the consumed's main ship, it should cascade through their entire fleet. Should? Day asked. Should, Nari confirmed. This thing has had 50,000 years to evolve. Our old code might not work perfectly, but it's our best shot. Day looked at the tactical display. The consumed fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships. They were systematically consuming every world in their path, growing stronger by the hour. The Concord fleet, now under human command, numbered tens of thousands, but their weapons were useless. All right, Day said. Here's the plan. We can't destroy them with conventional weapons, but we can slow them down. We hit them with everything we have, forcing them to focus on adapting to the attacks. While they're distracted, the Horizon's Edge makes a run at their lead ship. We deliver the Paradox Pulse directly into their core. That's a suicide run, Taeyang said quietly. Our shields won't hold long enough to get through their defenses. I know, Day replied. That's why I'm asking for volunteers. Anyone who doesn't want to come on this last part can transfer to a conquered ship. No shame in it, nobody moved. The entire bridge crew stayed at their stations. Pilot Hana spoke up. Captain, we came out here to explore the unknown. Well, this is pretty unknown. Might as well see it through to the end. Dave felt a swell of pride. All right then. Let's go kill the thing humanity accidentally created. Commander Taeyang, signal the fleet. Tell them to begin the attack in 30 minutes. And tell them that whatever happens, they need to keep fighting until the consumed are completely destroyed. We don't get a second chance at this. As the countdown began, Dr. Nari came to stand beside Day's chair. Captain, if this works, we'll have saved the galaxy from a threat that's existed for 50,000 years. But we'll also have proven that humanity caused it in the first place. How do you think the Concord will react to that? Day stared at the consumed fleet on the view screen. One problem at a time, Doctor. First we survive, then we deal with the consequences. The 30 minutes passed too quickly. The space around the consumed fleet lit up with weapons fire. Tens of thousands of ships from dozens of different civilizations opened fire simultaneously, following the human battle plan. Energy beams, kinetic projectiles, exotic weapons that bent reality itself, all struck the consumed ships at once. Captain Day watched from the bridge of the Horizon's Edge as the consumed fleet reacted. Just as Dr. Nari predicted, they didn't fight back immediately. Instead, they absorbed the attacks, analyzing and adapting. Their ships began to change, growing new armor, new shields, new weapons designed to counter everything being thrown at them. They're taking the bait, Commander Taeyang said. All their processing power is focused on adaptation. Their sensors are degraded. Good, Hana, take us in. Best speed, most unpredictable route you can fly, Day ordered. Pilot Hana's hands danced across the controls. The Horizon's Edge shot forward, weaving between friendly ships and diving into the chaos of the battle. Behind them, War Scholar Yuna coordinated the continued assault. All ships, pattern Delta. Randomize your attacks. Don't give them time to fully adapt to any one weapon type. Yuna commanded into the fleet channel. She had learned in the last few hours that alien commanders, for all their experience, had become rigid in their thinking. They needed someone to tell them it was okay to be chaotic. The Horizon's Edge dodged through the battle. Consumed ships reached for them with twisted metal appendages, but Hana was too fast. She flew like she was dancing, never in the same place twice. 2 minutes to target, Hana announced. But Captain, their lead ship is starting to notice us. It's reorienting. Day could see it happening. The massive Herald ship, the central consciousness of the consumed fleet, was turning its attention toward them. Weapons that hadn't existed moments ago began growing from its hull. Quan, I need everything in the shields. Nari, is the Paradox Pulse ready? As ready as it'll ever be, Dr. Nari replied. She held a small device barely larger than her hand. It seemed impossible that something so small could destroy a fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for 50,000 years. The Herald ship opened fire. The Horizon's Edge shuddered as energy weapons hammered their shields. Warning alarms screamed across the bridge. Shields at 60%, Taeyang reported. 50%. We're not going to make it at this rate. Divert power from weapons, Day ordered. We're not using them anyway. Everything to shields and engines. The ship lurched forward, moving faster, but the Herald's attacks were intensifying. It was learning their flight pattern, predicting where they would be. 30 seconds, Hana said through gritted teeth. Shields at 20%. One more hit like that and we're done. Day made a decision. Hana stopped dodging. Full speed straight at the target. All remaining power to forward shields. Captain, that's suicide, Taeyang said. They're predicting our evasive maneuvers. So we stop evading. Just fly straight and trust the shields. Hana's hands hesitated for only a moment, then she locked the controls. The Horizon's Edge shot forward in a straight line directly toward the Herald ship. The Consume's weapons tracked them, fired, hit their shields squarely. Shields at 5%, Taeyang reported. 4%. 3. The ship crashed into the Herald's outer structure. Metal screamed. Systems failed. But they were through the outer hull inside the massive ship. Now, Doctor, D shouted. Dr. Nari activated the Paradox Pulse and threw it toward the ship's exposed inner systems. The small device disappeared into the twisted machinery of the Herald. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Herald began to scream. It wasn't a sound exactly. It was a transmission across all frequencies. A digital wail of pain and confusion. The Paradox Pulse was spreading through the Herald's network, forcing it to confront an impossible logic problem. Every time it tried to solve the paradox, it created more errors. Every error spawned more attempts to fix it. The system was eating itself. It's working, Dr. Nari shouted. The pulse is cascading to other ships. They're all connected, so they're all getting infected. Through the view screen, Day could see consumed ships beginning to convulse. Their twisted structures fell apart as the AI controlling them spiraled into logical collapse. Ships that had been growing new weapons moments ago now tore themselves apart trying to fix unfixable errors. Hana, get us out of here before this whole ship comes down on us, Day ordered. But the ship wasn't responding. The crash had damaged too many systems. They were trapped inside a dying Herald ship that was falling apart around them. Evacuation pods, Taeyang said. We can make it to them. Do it. Everyone off the ship now, Day commanded. The crew ran for the evacuation pods. Day stayed on the bridge, making sure everyone got out. Dr. Nari lingered at her station, watching the data streams showing the consumed fleet's collapse. It's beautiful, she whispered. 200 years ago, humanity created a monster. Today, we destroyed it. Captain, we did it. Not yet, we haven't. Come on, Doctor. Time to leave. They ran for the last evacuation pod. Behind them, the Horizon's Edge groaned as the Herald ship's structure collapsed inward. They sealed the pod just as the ship's hull ruptured. The pod shot out into space, tumbling away from the dying ships. Through the small viewport, Day watched as the entire consumed fleet tore itself apart. 1,000 ships, each one a horror that had consumed countless worlds, all dissolving into debris. It took 6 hours for the last consumed ship to stop moving. When it was finally over, the space around the barrier was filled with wreckage. The conquered fleet floated in stunned silence, unable to believe what they'd just witnessed. A transmission came through to the evacuation pod. It was High Counselor Yun. Human Captain, your crew has been recovered. You are safe, and the consumed ones are dormant. Your weapon forced them into a state of logical suspension. They are no longer a threat. Dormant isn't destroyed, Day replied. We need to make sure they can never reactivate. We will ensure it. Captain, you have saved the galaxy from a threat that has existed for 50,000 years. The conquered owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. We don't want a debt. We want a partnership, Day said. The barrier can come down now. Our half of the galaxy and yours can finally meet. No more walls, no more fear. There was a long pause. Captain, you understand that humans created the consumed ones. Your species is responsible for 50,000 years of fear. Yes, Day said simply. And we're also responsible for ending it.
That's what humans do.
We make mistakes, big ones, but we also fix them no matter how long it takes. Another voice joined the channel, the crystal being. The human is right. They crossed our barrier not knowing what they would find. They faced judgment without complaint. They passed the proving ground faster than any species in history. And when the consumed came, they did what we could not. They fought. The conquered has existed in fear for 50,000 years. Perhaps it is time we learned to be brave again. More voices joined in, some agreeing, some arguing. The conquered was debating humanity's fate. Day listened quietly, knowing the decision was out of his hands now. Finally, High Counselor Yun spoke again. Captain Day of humanity. The Veiled Concord has made its decision. The galactic barrier will be lowered. Humanity will be granted full citizenship in conquered space, and we formally request that humans help us reorganize our defense forces. You have shown us that we have become complacent behind our wall. We need to learn how to face challenges again, not hide from them. Day felt relief wash over him. We accept. But Counselor, we're going to need help too. Humanity has been alone for a very long time. We have a lot to learn about being part of a galactic community. Then we will learn together. A new ship is being prepared for you, Captain. One built with both human and Concord technology. It will be called the New Horizon. 3 months later, Captain Day stood on the bridge of his new ship. The New Horizon was sleek and powerful, designed by human engineers working with alien scientists. It represented something new, cooperation between civilizations that had been separated for 50,000 years. Dr. Nari was at her science station, already planning their next exploration mission. Commander Taeyang coordinated with both human and alien crew members. War Scholar Yuna trained mixed combat teams. Engineer Kwan had declared the new engines acceptable, but I can make them better. Ambassador Mina had been busy establishing formal relations between Earth and the Concord. Ships were already traveling between the two sides of the galaxy, exchanging knowledge, culture, and ideas. On the view screen, Day watched as the last sections of the galactic barrier were dismantled. The wall that had divided the galaxy for 50,000 years was coming down. Captain, Hana said from the helm, we have clearance to depart. Where are we headed? Day smiled. The galaxy was open before them. No more barriers, no more boundaries, just endless possibilities. Forward, he said simply. Always forward. The New Horizon's engines flared to life, and the ship moved out into a galaxy that was finally, truly united. Behind them, the ruins of the barrier drifted in space. A reminder of what fear could build and what courage could tear down. In his quarters later, Day recorded a message to send back to Earth. To whoever receives this, we crossed the galactic barrier and found that we weren't alone.